One of the other hallmarks of a Xaverian education are the five spiritual values, which we've already spoken about, but simplicity, humility, compassion, zeal, and trust. And we'll have an opportunity in a few moments to listen to some of our schools reflect on that particular value and where they've seen it. But I'd ask, as we watch these brief videos about the spiritual values, that you ask yourself, well, where have you seen this in your school? Who are the people who have exhibited this for you? Or perhaps, how have you exhibited it for them? So, as we look at these five spiritual values, we will start with humility, and Malden Catholic will be sharing their thoughts on that.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Foy, and I am from Malden Catholic in Malden, Massachusetts. Humility is one of the most interesting and versatile values in our life. We are taught from a young age not to brag or boast. And as we grow up, we learn to live and serve others humbly. As defined by the Partners in Mission, humility is the recognition of our total dependence on God. Adopting the selfless attitude of Christ, we accept that each person is a unique expression of God's love, is gifted, and is loved in their sinful and graced humanity. We recognize our brothers and sisters as images of God with whom we journey in faith. During his life on earth, Jesus showed us how to be humble in many different ways. My favorite example is the washing of the disciples' feet. Taking on the work of a servant, Jesus shows the disciples the meaning of service. After finishing his task, Jesus says, I have given you a model to follow, so that as I have done for you, you should also do. Jesus is teaching us to humble ourselves and serve those around us. At Malden Catholic, the teachers show great humility in their work each day. Many travel 30 or more minutes to and from school, arriving at class with energy and enthusiasm. Teachers develop personal relationships with students. Personally, some teachers I've never even had before have come up to me and started a conversation. They find creative ways to teach and make learning enjoyable, and they work hard to help us learn different content and material. When COVID first hit, teachers immediately adapted to the new online learning model. Now, with the hybrid model, teachers at MC come to school each day, risking their health to teach students. One member of our community displays humility in a way I've never seen before. Brother Tom Puccio is one of the cornerstones of our MC community, as he has taught, led, and served MC for over 30 years. One of his strongest attributes is his ability to lead quietly. He takes time to learn about his students, their interests, and he attends almost every sporting event, he partakes in campus ministry events, and the list goes on. Brother does not lead by commanding students and staff to do something. Instead, he leads by example. When I think of Brother Puccio, I'm reminded of that passage from chapter 13 of John, when Jesus washes the feet of the disciples. Brother leads by example in his everyday life and shows MC students and faculty the meaning of service. His constant presence at school events shows his dedication and love for the community, but he never brags about himself and he always builds others up. I've been very blessed to develop a personal relationship with Brother, and he inspires me to be a better version of myself each day. While there are countless examples, I remember one distinct way that Brother showed his humble leadership. Each year, MC allows students to do a service project in Jamaica for a week, and I had the privilege of going last January. On the day we left for Jamaica, we had to meet at the airport around 6:30 a.m. As I arrived, I saw Brother waiting for us near the door. He had arrived at the airport before our group had gotten there to see us off. Brother had decided to wake up early on a Saturday morning and drive to Boston to say goodbye to our group. This is the humility that Jesus is talking about. As my senior year begins to end, I reflect on how Brother has led. As a headmaster, a principal, a teacher, and a friend, Brother has shown me countless times that being a leader requires humbly serving the needs of others by supporting them and showing compassion. Through daily conversations and a simple smile, Brother Puccio has taught me the meaning of humility and service, which I will carry with me for the rest of my life. Brother has always been a mentor and a leader at MC, and will always be one. He has shown me the meaning of humility, and like Christ, he tells me, I have given you a model to follow, so that as I have done for you, you should also do.
Thank you very much, Ben, and
Hello.
Malden Catholic. Um, Brother Puccio is an excellent example of humility, and I don't know if he's on. Yeah, he's on this call, so he even got a chance to hear that. So I hope, brother, that's some positive affirmation for the impact you've had on the Malden Catholic community for the past 30 years. Up next is a reflection on simplicity from St. Bernard's.
Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Massad and I am the senior leader at St. Bernard School in Uncasville, Connecticut. First, I want to congratulate all of the juniors and my fellow seniors on being chosen to attend this retreat. I hope you all learn and grow here as much as I know I did last year. I'm here to talk to all of you about the Xaverian spiritual value of simplicity. There are a lot of questions asked about what the meaning of simplicity is within the Xaverian brothers' values. And while preparing for this, I did a lot of searching into the fundamental documents of the brothers. And one thing that really stood out to me is the way they described it as a way of acting, thinking, and feeling. And I couldn't agree more. Simplicity really starts in the minds and hearts of each one of you. One thing I want you all to realize is that within this last year, every one of you has come to value simplicity, whether you're aware of it or not. This past year has challenged every single one of us, and we've all come to value the smaller things in life. We have realized that the value of spending time with the people we love and care about. We have realized the value of our health, and we have realized that joy can come in the little things. This right here is simplicity. Even if you don't understand the importance of it within your life yet, I promise you one day will. It wasn't until 7th grade when I finally understood it. At the end of my 7th grade year, my grandmother passed away, and within the next 2 years, I lost 2 more uncles and a great uncle. At the time, it felt like it was going to be a never-ending cycle. I wanted to pause time right there and never risk losing another person I cared about again. That is when I really understood the meaning of simplicity. I realized that what I really needed to be happy was 2 things: to be surrounded by those I care about and to have a relationship with God. I didn't need to always be busy or have a million things. I just needed to refocus my energy on those around me and make deeper connections with those that I care about. Doing this has not only made me happier, but it grew my relationship with God. I'm sure a lot of you were disappointed, as I know I was, when we found out that we weren't going to be able to meet in person for the retreat this year. But this right here is where we all need to value simplicity. We don't need to be in a big building and with a big group of people to learn and grow from this retreat. We just need to value each other and use simplicity to form connections, even if it's just over Zoom. One thing that I vividly remember one of the senior leaders saying last year is to go light the world on fire. And while we can't do that together this year, if each one of you become your own simple flame, it will bring light into the darkness. So I implore you, value the simple things, find joy in the little things, and live out simplicity every day in your life. I promise you, every single one of you will be happier because of it. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Olivia, and St. Bernard's. I do think that if this pandemic has taught us anything, it is about the significance of the simple things, in both the way in which God is present in our lives, but also even looking at this retreat. Based on talking to some of the adults, everyone's already having a really great time. And it's because we're able to appreciate the opportunity for this at all and where God's presence is in that simplicity. So thank you, Olivia, for those thoughts. We're now moving on to St. X's reflections on compassion.
My name is Jackson McDonald. I'm going to talk to you about the Xaverian value of compassion. Compassion, as defined by the Xaverian brothers, is the tenderness of heart which is capable of seeing and hearing the needs of all, near and far. According to the fundamental principles, we serve others to manifest God's care and compassionate love to those who are separated and estranged, not only from their neighbors, but also from their own uniqueness, to those that suffer from want, neglect, and injustice. Here at St. Xavier High School, from the top down, I feel like every person excels in compassion. It even shows up in the little things. A student drops his books, and every Sax man around him gets down and helps. On a larger scale, 40% of our students receive financial aid or a need-based scholarship. This shows the compassion our administration has with students, giving kids the opportunity to gain the Xaverian education. My experience with the compassion that SYNEX gives happened before I was ever enrolled as a student. In February 2016, my father was hospitalized for a hemorrhaged brain tumor and later found out that he had stage 4 melanoma cancer. Now my dad is a 1993 graduate of SYNEX and has worked at the school since 1999. As a result, I've been part of the SYNEX community since I was born. After my dad received his diagnosis, my family experienced the value of compassion firsthand. Teachers, students, parents, and more mobilized to help our family through this tough time. Parents made food for my sisters and I so that my mom could focus on staying with my dad in the hospital. Students signed cards and banners wishing my dad well. Alumni and their sons came to our house and did yard work, allowing for my family to focus on my dad's health. Throughout the experience, one individual who exhibited and embodied compassion was our school nurse, Ann Corey Malloy. She served as a personal medical resource for my mom throughout my dad's journey. Like many others, she also would order dinner for us or provide gift cards to local restaurants. Nurse Malloy is one of my favorite people at SYNEX. As a school nurse, she is always looking out for the health of students. However, her role far exceeds that. Nurse Malloy finds those students most in need and helps them in any way she can. When a student is not eating lunch or doesn't have the required materials to complete a project, she is quick to notice and take action. One time, I even saw her taking measurements to get a student a new shirt. Mrs. Malloy fills the simple needs students have that often go unnoticed. There's nothing more Xaverian than that. She's also very positive and encouraging. All these examples of compassion show me what it truly means to be Xaverian. Although I was destined at birth to go to SYNEX, my experiences made me want to go to SYNEX and become part of this Xaverian community.
Thank you so much, Jackson and SYNEX, for your reflection on compassion, particularly in the way in which your family received that from SYNEX, but also in the particular way that Nurse Malloy shares that particular gift with the community. Lowell Catholic has our next reflection on zeal.
Hi, welcome to Lowell Catholic. Hi everybody, my name is Julia Smith and I'm here to talk about the Xaverian value of zeal and how I see that value lived out at my school, Lowell Catholic. In order to show what zeal means to the Lowell Catholic community, I asked my friends to send me pictures and videos of what zeal means to them in the context of our community. Zeal is defined as the joyful and enthusiastic commitment to the mission of the Catholic Church, which God has entrusted to us. We imitate St. Francis Xavier as we give ourselves wholeheartedly to the work of evangelization in word and deed. Zeal is the value that unites each of our Xaverian schools through our common goal of spreading the light of Christ to the people and the communities around us. The fundamental principles of the Xaverian Brothers further state that through zeal and in imitation of Theodore James Ryken, we are emboldened and empowered to face trials and obstacles in our path, knowing that nothing special is achieved without much labor, effort, and zeal. At Lowell Catholic, we have many programs such as our March Madness canned food drive, Faith and Film Nights, and Get Real campus ministry events that encourage us to bring our gifts and talents to other people around us and in our communities. By sharing God's love with others, we as Lowell Catholic Crusaders find zeal within ourselves as we get excited to be examples of St. Francis Xavier's mission to spread the love of God to people everywhere. During our annual March Madness can drive, we compete against other homerooms in brackets to see who can bring in the most canned goods as a fun way to bring in donations for our local food bank. Not to brag, but my homeroom is the reigning champion. We watch fun movies for our Faith and Film Nights and discuss faith-based themes we see in the media today. Finally, our Get Real nights invite our classmates to hear talks from our XBSS students and discuss how we can live out the Xaverian values in our community through their example. Zeal also means spreading the mission of the Catholic Church through expressions of joy. One of the ways that we do this at Lowell Catholic is through our Mr. LCHS pageant, as you can see through several clips I've included in this video. Every year, juniors and seniors can showcase their talents and enthusiasm for Lowell Catholic by competing in the pageant through the group dance, individual talent, and formal wear sections of the event. These talented performers show zeal through competing to represent the spirit of Lowell Catholic and our mission to be a light of Christ to those around us. One person who is an amazing example of zeal in our community, rightfully so, received the prestigious Zeal Award this year. Bobby is one of the senior XBSS leaders at my school and is the true embodiment of zeal. He is always around at school helping others, whether that be through giving talks, doing afternoon announcements and prayer, performing his duties as captain of the football team, or attending campus ministry events. Bobby is great at getting everyone excited to be a part of the Lowell Catholic community by being active in volunteer opportunities as well. Anyone who has the privilege of meeting him can tell you how zealous Bobby is, and you can tell that he loves being a part of the Xaverian Brothers sponsored school community. Each of our Xaverian Brothers sponsored schools is called to live out the value of zeal through our devotion to Christ and our passion of sharing the good news of Christ with others. Zeal is not a value that we can keep to ourselves. Each of us is called to be an example of the Church's mission of loving as Christ loved and spreading the good news of salvation to others. This amazing truth is something to be recognized and shared with those around us. Here at Lowell Catholic, and by extension the XBSS community, it is so important to us to build a community that empowers and excites in order to reflect the joy that comes from the presence of Christ within all of us, and that is what the value of zeal is at its core.
And thank you very much, Julia, and the Lowell Catholic community, giving us that extensive look not only into your own reflection, but also in the many ways in which Lowell Catholic demonstrates zeal. Finally, as we reflect on the spiritual value of trust, Xaverian Brothers High School has their reflection.
Trust definitely can be a difficult value to live out in your everyday life because it depends more on others than it does yourself. During my freshman and sophomore year, I did a lot of theater, and one of the biggest things is trusting others, because if you don't have complete trust in others, then you can't really put a show on. Through every line and every song, if the cue doesn't happen right, or if someone forgets what they're supposed to be saying, it all just ends badly. This trust can be hard to develop because it's such a complicated thing, because there's so many factors going into it with other people being involved. But we really have to make sure that out of all the values to develop trust the most. Thank you.
One time that I trusted in God was when it came to the time for my brother and I to start looking at high schools. We had looked at several different all-boys Catholic high schools in the Boston area, and each one offered a different experience, different people, and we just had a hard time choosing. One night I decided to pray to God to help us decide, which one would be the best fit for us. I knew that, if I put my faith, my trust in God, He would handle everything. And I woke up the next morning on the drive to my middle school, realizing that Xaverian was the place where I wanted to be.
A while ago, one of the kids from our church posted a question on his Instagram, and it was for a school project, and he was asking, what does it mean to be a friend? And I had never really thought about this question that much, but after some thinking, I came to the conclusion that a friend is someone that you enjoy spending time with and someone that you trust. So I sent him his response, and probably 30 minutes later, he posted all the responses, and of the 30-ish kids that responded, all of them had the word trust in their definition of a friend. So clearly we all understand that to have a relationship with someone, it needs to be built on trust. And that's why I think that trust is such an important Xaverian value that we live by. Personally, in my life, trusting has always been hard for me to do. I'm not a very trusting person, and I tend to keep my personal thoughts and feelings to myself. And this is especially true before I came to Xaverian. We have a campus ministry program called Spirit Hawk, and it's really similar to XBSS. We have small groups, group leaders that give talks, and a topic every week. And I started going to Spirit Hawk in 7th grade, and I was usually a pretty quiet kid in a small group. I didn't think I had anything really of substance to share with the group. I was really baffled by all the experiences that everyone had had in life with their relationships with their parents, their friends, God, with death. And I didn't think I had those experiences in my life. But I kept going on with Spirit Hawk, and over the years, I found that I just hadn't thought about or talked about my life enough to recognize that I actually had those experiences in my life. And as time went on, I started to talk in small group more, and I was eventually asked to be a leader. And one week I had to give a talk about loss and death. And I honestly had no idea what I was going to talk about once I was assigned the talk. I had never lost someone really close to me, so I didn't really know who I was going to talk about. But I did some thinking, and both of my grandfathers came to mind. And I had never got the chance to meet them because they died long before I was born. And I had never really thought of it as a death in my life because I had never been close to them. But as I was writing my talk, I started to realize that it was a death in my life. It was kind of a hole in my family that I hadn't really recognized. But as I thought about writing the talk, I wouldn't have recognized that this hole in my life had had such a big impact on my life if I hadn't written this talk, and if I hadn't, participated in Spirit Hawk, and if I hadn't trusted the people at our school. I know exactly how hard it can be to trust people, but in your small groups, whether you're in a mixed small group or in your school small group, put the trust in the other people in your group. Having trust puts meaning in your small groups, and that's how you build a relationship with people. Because you're on this retreat for a reason. There are lots of people that believe each and every one of you embodied all of the Xaverian values, trust included. So you're all in the company of people that can be trusted, and the question is going to be if you put enough trust in yourself to grow from this experience and build those relationships. Because as it says in the fundamental principles, and as I believe strongly, trust builds harmony, and in harmony small things grow.